It is really remarkable how this scandal continues to spiral for the Trump administration. Here you have a candidate who is well known for his embrace of conspiracy theories, and this is one of the biggest conspiracy theories of all, both the Epstein case in particular, and this larger idea that there's a cabal of elite pedophiles who sort of control the country and the world and who need to be exposed. And so for Trump to sort of turn on those people when that's been such a big part of his political movement is really remarkable.
It is that time of night again when we cross over the pond, transatlantic view on what Donald Trump's been up to today. It is the Trump dump, and this evening we're joined by the senior political correspondent for the Wall Street Journal, Molly Ball. Molly, good evening.
Good evening, or afternoon,
yes.
Is this the case here in DC?
Over there, absolutely it is. Listen, the issue of the Jeffrey Epstein kind of so-called files, and this, was there a client list or not, something that's been roundly denied by Donald Trump and now by Pam Bondi and others, it still continues to dominate the headlines. And this is significant in itself, I suppose. Donald Trump's been talking about it again today. He's called his loyal MAGA supporters stupid for wanting the release of the Epstein files, describing it as a democratic hoax. Let's just have a listen.
They're wasting their time with a guy who obviously had some very serious problems, who died 3-4 years ago. I'd rather talk about the success we have with the economy, the best we've ever had, and all of the things we've done, including the Middle East. I mean, you see it. Instead, they want to talk about the Epstein hoax. And the sad part is it's people that are really doing the Democrats' work. They're stupid people. Yeah, go ahead.
Stupid people. There we go. That is, well, that's quite a mess. That's quite a word, isn't it, to use against some of your supporters. He does seem flustered by this. He's not letting it go. It continues to dominate the headlines. Is that significant? Is there something else to see there, I suppose I'm saying, Molly?
Oh, in terms of what's in the files or the list or whatever, if it actually exists, nobody knows that. But I certainly wish I did. But it is really remarkable how this scandal continues to spiral for the Trump administration. Here you have a candidate who is well known for his embrace of conspiracy theories, and this is one of the biggest conspiracy theories of all, both the Epstein case in particular, and this larger idea that there's a cabal of elite pedophiles who sort of control the country and the world and who need to be exposed. And so for Trump to sort of turn on those people when that's been such a big part of his political movement is really remarkable. You played the clip of him calling anyone who believes this stuff stupid. He also had a social media post today where he said, "I do not want their support." So he's saying to anyone, and it's a very large proportion, I think, of what we would call the MAGA movement.
Proportion. What do you make of what he's saying, of his reaction, his sort of, strong use of words? I don't know, he appears a little flustered about this to me, but I could be reading far too much into it. But what do you make of how he's been responding?
Yeah, well, look, Donald Trump is someone who very rarely faces any pushback from his most devoted supporters. He famously has a stranglehold on them. Many of his critics describe it as a cult of personality, people who are willing to follow him absolutely anywhere he leads and stay with him through scandal after scandal. He famously said several years ago that he believes he could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue, and all of his supporters would still be with him because they have such faith in him. He's created such an incredibly devoted political movement. Now, for really the first time I can remember, you really do have a broad swath of sort of MAGA influencers, podcasters and broadcasters and social media folks, and very influential people in this new Trumpist political movement who are not breaking with Trump conclusively, not saying that they will no longer support him, but they are very opposed to the stance he's taken on this issue, and they have been aggressively calling for more transparency, despite the president pushing to call this matter closed and to move on and not speak speak of it.
Look, Trump also backed his Attorney General Pam Bondi to make the right decision. In February, she implied that the Epstein files, or the so-called Epstein files, we don't know if they exist, of course, were sitting on her desk, or the client list was sitting on her desk. She's since contradicted that. This is what Trump has said about Pam Bondi.
Whatever's credible, she can release. If a document is credible, if a document's there that is credible, she can release. I think it's good. But it's just a subject. He's dead. He's gone, and all it is the certain Republicans got duped by the Democrats, and they're following a Democrat playbook.
That was Donald Trump talking about Pam Bondi, kind of passing the plate over to her, Molly, a little bit there. Well, she can release whatever she thinks is credible. I mean, I don't know what you do with that if you were Pam Bondi. Do you think we will see anything?
Well, as you sort of said, in many ways, this is a mess of Pam Bondi's making, because she, among many others, stoked these conspiracy theories so aggressively, and did, when she first came into office, say that there was this list that existed and was on her desk. Also made a big show out of having an event at the White House where many of these MAGA influencers came and were handed binders that supposedly constituted the Epstein files, and it turned out there was nothing new in them. So that happened a few months ago, and it was a real preview of the situation that's unfolding now, because there was a real sense of betrayal by the people who received those files once they realized that there wasn't anything significant in them. So from everything we hear, the president is still very pleased with Pam Bondi and devoted to her, and there isn't a chance that she could be fired. But we know that there's been tension between her and the FBI director, Dan Bongino, another person with roots in, the conservative conspiracy fever swamps, as it were, who has also now been trying to convince the MAGA world to no avail that there's just no there. So, without seeing the files, we can't know if there actually is some kind of cover-up, as many in MAGA world and now many Democrats are also saying, or if there was never any conspiracy and cover-up, and there was just never anything to see here, which is what now the many people in the administration have been trying to say.
Is the deputy director of the FBI, John Bongino, is he back to work now? He didn't show up for work on Monday. There were suggestions that he was considering.
I believe it was Friday.
Friday.
He took a personal day on Friday.
Yes,
he's been
you are
back in the
absolutely
office
right.
since then. Yeah.
And there were suggestions that he might be considering his position, but was that people just putting sort of 2 and 2 together and getting 5?
That seems to be the case, but I think this is a fluid situation, and I think there's still a lot of controversy within the White House. We know that they're very sort of wrapped around the axle on this, and so I don't think we know. It certainly isn't over, and I don't think we know how far this could continue to go.
Okay, let's move on to Donald Trump backing away from suggestions that he was looking to sack the Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell after news circulated last night that he was talking to lawmakers about making a change, asking Republicans what he should do. He confirmed today this was highly unlikely. He was taking questions alongside the Prime Minister of Bahrain in the Oval Office.
He's a terrible Fed chair. I was surprised he was appointed. I was surprised, frankly, that Biden put him in and extended him, but they did. So, no, we're not planning on doing anything. We're very concerned.
Trump questions the appointment of Jerome Powell there and blames Biden, forgetting that he appointed him back in 2017, Molly. It seems like, Trump might have forgotten Powell is actually one of his guys.
I don't know if he forgot. I mean, he did say Biden was the one who reappointed him, but you can see that, this is the same dance that Trump has really been doing in public and in private for many months now, publicly bashing Powell and dangling this possibility, making very, very clear, again, in public and in private, how unhappy he is with Powell and what exactly he objects to, what he would like to see Powell do. I think it's important to say that this kind of overt pressure on the chairman of the Fed, who is on paper and conceptually supposed to be independent from the White House, specifically so that he cannot be politically influenced in this way. And it has long been a major taboo for presidents to say anything about what's going on at the Fed, much less to have this sort sort of ongoing pressure campaign. Nonetheless, Trump has repeatedly, first he says lots of nasty things about Powell and makes it sound like he's maybe thinking of trying to find a way to get rid of him. And then when he's asked about it, he says, no, I'm not going to do that. So this fits with that pattern. He continues to make a lot of noise while insisting that he's not going to fire him. But the other new wrinkle is he's raised this possibility that Powell could be fired for cause, that he's guilty of some kind of fraud having to do with his renovation of the Federal Reserve building or his oversight of that renovation. So that adds a sort of new wrinkle to this. But again, it's still Trump sort of dangling this possibility and then walking it back repeatedly.
All right. Hunter Biden, son of Joe Biden, has blamed the lack of loyalty to his father for the Democrats' 2024 election loss. He was speaking for the first time since the US election, where he defended his father's health and made it clear any type of cover-up on his cognitive ability would have been impossible. Do Americans care what Hunter Biden has to say? He's a pretty controversial character, certainly in the eyes of anyone who supports Donald Trump. Do these words carry weight still, Molly?
Well, look, I don't know what else you would expect a man's son to say. He's not going to sell out his father, especially when, his father also stuck by him, even when it was very politically problematic for him to do so. Given all of Hunter Biden's, struggles with everything from drug addiction and adultery to financial impropriety and legal criminal legal liability, Joe Biden has always tried to be as loyal to him as possible, and that loyalty is clearly returned. I think Americans still feel pretty negatively toward the whole Biden family. I think a lot of Democrats blame Biden and his insistence on staying in the race for Kamala Harris's eventual loss last November, and believe that she was poorly served by the way he sort of clung to power in that way. So while you will certainly still find Biden loyalists out there whose last name isn't even Biden, I think they're a minority. And I think in even putting aside the Republicans who have never been big fans of the Bidens and who repeatedly tried to get some kind of impeachment going over Hunter and Joe Biden's business dealings, even among Democrats, I think there's a lot of bitter feeling toward the Biden family and toward Hunter Biden for the way they conducted themselves over the last political cycle.
Look, Molly, thanks very much. Molly Ball, senior political correspondent for the Wall Street Journal, just running us through some of the top stories fizzing around US politics at the moment. Molly, good to speak to you. Thank you.